Welcome back, everyone. Derch here, and in today's video, I've got the two leaders of the Borderlands, the pre-sequel alpha patch, or just, I guess, community patch in general, Schmidt and Jim. You guys
Hey,
want to say hi?
what's
Hello,
up?
We were
Jim
just going
here.
to go over. Sorry, I interrupted you there already.
No problem.
With three people there, we're going to interrupt a lot. It's hard not to do that. But we're going to go over kind of the changes and then maybe more future plans since they're still in alpha. And do you guys want to start in then?
I can kick it off, and Jim can take over when we get to the loot changes. Um,
Sure.
yeah, so basically, we're just starting out trying to fix like any guns that are just real weak, or just there's no point to using them, or just random things that don't make any sense. So we fixed elemental locks on different things like the Fatale, and then part locks on guns like the long nail. Just little tweaks that bug me and things like that. Felt like the IVF was too good, but that one's prone to being changed a little bit. There's some disagreement there because I had split the magazine size in half because you can get the double bonus if you're good with throwing the babies. Stuff like that is what we started off with, and then Jim, in his own time, completely rehauled all the drops and buffed all the Loonshine changes. So I'll let him sort of talk to that a little bit.
Yeah, and just a side note, it's me and Smith that do the community parts, but we also have help from others as well. Most notably, Nikita Z. He has done some quite nice things in this patch. For example, the cryo Maliwan pistols that could never spawn. That's one of his things. He actually fixed it.
Yeah. One of my
Nice.
favorite things is that he did I think we called it the white feather. The body shot sniper is one of my favorite things that we've changed, and we'll get to like complete gun revamps in a little bit. But um, he did that all on his own, and that's probably like my favorite thing that we've done. Um,
I haven't even seen that one yet.
yeah.
That
It
sounds
is.
interesting.
Oh, it's a ton of fun. It might be too good, but that's it's a lot of fun to play with.
Well,
It's basically a sniper rifle. That is the exactly opposite of a sniper rifle. Basically, when you shoot a critical, you do less damage than you do shoot a body shot.
Yeah, you get kind of crazy body shot damage. I think it's like 173,000 or something like that. But then if you like have an enemy with a big crit spot, or you accidentally hit the crit, it punishes you for being a good player a little bit. So it's kind of a fun one
It's
to
unique
play
like
around with.
that.
Yeah,
It's not like something serious, but it's unique in that way.
there's been
yeah,
a fair amount of people like worried about like over buffing things and things like that, but certain like little things like that sniper or some of the stuff that Dave's been doing, like from a personal standpoint at least, I don't give a fuck if some of this stuff is overpowered because these games are so old now in their life cycles, and if someone makes a really interesting gun that's way out there and it's a bit OP, but it's fun, who fucking cares? It's fun. Like
yeah.
these are games. They're games way past their life cycle. These are not official patches from Gearbox. These are
It's
community-driven things, and like,
yeah.
who
It's not like you're
cares?
downloading them.
Yeah. I don't know. There's
Yeah.
been a lot
No,
of
I'm on board.
complaining
I'm
about
I'm
that.
totally on board with that one. My whole thing is that when I first started this was I wanted to replace every single repeat gun, and that's still like a little side project of mine aside from this. Is I'm trying to find people who've made interesting things or trying to make them myself. Main thing is having ideas of what to do with them, but I think that that would be one of the coolest things. Because it gives, like, my main gripe with the pre-sequel was not having enough new, interesting stuff to farm for, and so I think that'd be really interesting to completely revamp it with all like really just interesting guns to play with.
I 100% agree with that. Like one of I mean, I first of all, I should just say I fucking love the pre-sequel. I had a blast with it. I put a lot of hours into it, but
Same here.
like snipers really got me when I first started it because there was no dedicated sniper character, and then there was really no interesting sniper rifles in the game to start with. The machine might be the most interesting one, and that was locked out for a long time.
Yeah, or the plunket. I like the plunket.
Yeah, the plunket's cool, but like until Aurelia came around, I was just really I could not find a fun way to snipe in the game, and I mean she really helped with that. But yeah, it just there was nothing like I don't know. Borderlands 2 had so many cool snipers between like the longbow, the pimpernel, the Leuta, the sloth, which eventually came in the wet week.
Yeah.
And it just felt like, all right, I'm using Snyders and the Skull Masher. They're cool, but I already played with them for 4 years, and so like, replacing some of those repeat ones and bringing in new ones to me sounds awesome.
Yeah. Because you got
I
stuff
wanna-
like the Invader and the Pitchfork, and no one uses those.
Yep.
I want to add some notes into that. Um, Basically, as Smith said, he wants to replace every repeat gun. This is actually something interesting, and at the same time, it's not really something that we should focus for now. Because what happens? We try to make this for as many people as possible. We're not trying to make this for our own entertainment or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
And changing everything, like 80% of the guns are repeat guns, if I'm
Yeah.
not wrong, except lasers, of course.
Then you alienate
Changing
your best people
every
off.
single repeat gun make people who want to make mods or anything else have conflicts. Well, secondly, it will change the whole game. I mean, it's not very little people play co-op in this game, this stage. So it's basically do whatever you want. But there's still that point that we want to make it for as many people as possible.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The other note I want to add is about part locks. There is some warning to that. When you run the patch, you need to run it in the continue screen, not while you're in game. Because what
Yeah.
happens?
Your stuff
Let-
will all just get deleted.
The sand.
Let's say
check
you
picks
have
it
a
up.
fire fatal, for example.
Yeah.
Fire fatal is sanity checked. If the patch is not running, sanity check will delete it when you press continue. And that's a limitation that not even hotfix can fix.
Yeah. It's definitely a huge pain for testing purposes because I have every single like elemental locked gun in my inventory at all times just for testing stuff. And there's been multiple occasions where I've just deleted like half my inventory, and I've just gotten in the habit of always having Gib Save Editor open, and that sort of helped a lot. But it's just a thing to be aware of. That is a very serious limitation with all this stuff. We can't just fix everything, and it, like you were saying before, it's not like you're installing it to your game. It's a command line that only goes into effect when you actually run it.
Yep. I was wondering about that with the parts lock stuff, if that was going to cause that stuff. So, I mean, people that download this stuff have to be a little bit savvy and aware of issues and limitations. It's because there are issues and limitations. That's just part of it.
Exactly. Which is something we consider that might change in the future, hence why it's still alpha and not beta or anything else. Because those changes, cool as they might be, if like 50%, 60% of the people just delete their guns like every third time they open the game, it's not gonna be fun.
Yeah. So you guys ported over some of Shadow's stuff from Borderlands 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You guys want to touch base on that?
Here, Jim, I think you're the one who did that, actually. So if you want to start, and if I see anything that you miss, I'm looking through the changelog right now, so...
Sure, let me find those. There. Alright.
Okay, well,
Basically,
yeah. Go ahead.
Basically, I didn't really do much with that. I just found what Shadow did and did the same thing actually. From my experience, the guns now are great, to be honest. They're not bad, they're not medium, they're good.
Yes.
Uh,
So, like for example, it buffed like the Hyperion sniper fire rate. I think he buffed
the
the
fire rate.
WTF shield as
Oh
well.
yeah, the WTF is so much fun on Jack with clones
Oh
having that
yeah.
shield down.
Yeah, it's and like all the assault rifle and the bandit changes and stuff like that were ported
Bandit
over as well.
pistols and assault rifles.
Yeah,
I believe
Nice.
so.
and we kinda need some feedback on the bandit pistols mostly, but the bandit assault rifles as well,
Cool.
because I feel those changes are targeted to OP levels, and I didn't really playtest a lot. You see, if we playtest every single thing we make, we would have been like not even the half of the way of what we have made so
Oh
far,
yeah, yeah, that's fair. But
which is
that's
why we have it available already, so we can get feedback. It's really important we get feedback on what's strong, what's not strong. For example, I had someone tell me that he found a bandit pistol that it was way faster than the blood of one he had. But that needs fixing, of course.
Yeah,
yeah.
weird things like
That's
that
true
will
in
happen.
general.
Although was that someone with like a bad parts flat off pistol, like a Jacob's grip, and
Yeah,
a
they were two
bandit with like a
random
flat off
guns.
grip and like a
Yeah,
fire rate accessory? Like those things could potentially happen if you had a bad flat
Yeah,
off and a good
yeah.
bandit.
yeah.
It
Probably didn't
was
include it.
definitely bad parts. It was the random level 2-3 pistols you find out of the game, to
Yeah.
be honest.
Yeah, and for stuff like that, you can actually. Oh shoot! Sorry,
Don't worry, I
my
do that all
alarm.
the time.
Yeah, that was actually for this. I
Oh,
was making
nice.
sure I was actually getting up. Um, for things like that, we have like every single iteration of the patch to go back on. It's all in like the same folder on the GitHub. Like if you didn't like a change or something, or you think that something changed that we didn't notice, like all the versions are there. We actually have like 6 out right now, even though the current one is 4. 3 went through some weird tweaks back and forth, so there's like 3 different 3s. Um, but if we change something that you think just didn't make any sense, there's nothing stopping you from just keeping the old one and telling us. That's like the main thing. Is it just anytime you're on the forums or commenting on a YouTube video, me and Jim are there looking to see what you guys are saying. And so if you have something that you didn't like, just say it, because that's like a really big thing, is community interaction.
Exactly.
All right. I'm gonna actually go through some of the changelog stuff and just touch base on this and let you guys kick in with it.
Sure.
The weapon slot thing. I just want to say thank you. That was one of my biggest complaints about the pre-sequel. However small it was, that drove me nuts how long it took to get the first and second weapon slots. So you guys were able to speed that up.
Hmm.
Believe it or not, this is not a change that I actually thought to make. I mean, I did, but what happened? While I was playtesting the complete loot overhaul, because I actually put it up on Reddit, and even after your video, not many people actually told me anything about complete loot overhaul. Most of the comments were like, "I'm gonna try this, I'm gonna see it," but there was zero feedback about it. And I'm like, I should test this myself. So I went, I did a playthrough where I made stuff drop. There is a command, we don't have it in, that can make a boss always drop his legendary or whatever. For testing purposes, as you can see, that's great, because if you have to farm a boss for like 30 minutes to see if he has his 2 drops in, that's not
Yeah.
giving best. Alright, so while I was playing that, I started a new character to see how the changes feel in the character, how they feel in the UVHM and all that. And while I was playing that, I noticed that my SDUs were really late. So I was like, I can change that. I thought, let's give it to Moxie when we get to Concordia. But then Moxie gave you the first class mode, so there was a conflict there. So I made Springs give you the first class mode and then gave Moxie the SDU.
Nice.
And of course, removed the second SDU from Gladstone in Research and Department.
Yeah, that Gladstone one was way too far into the playthrough.
To be honest, it wasn't that far compared to Felicity. It was like 20 minutes later. It was too late in the story just because the first SDU was too late in the story.
Yep.
That was what I wanted to touch about SDU.
Yeah, that's like I said. That was just one thing that was just driving me nuts when I first played this game. Fast travel to EOS. That's awesome. Moonstones being auto pickup is awesome. So that's some general stuff, and then we move into some guns. The Smasher is now 1 ammo per shot, and Nikki did that.
Smasher is about
No, actually,
to
I
get
did that,
changed.
I think.
Oh,
Yeah, because we had some feedback about Smasher on the forum. They said they want to make it like a Maggie 2.0, but not really Maggie. No, like
Mhm.
having extreme damage, even better than the light cannon, but its ammo consumption being 3, making it like a 2-shot, 3-shot max. And it's inaccurate, actually. If you ever played with a Smasher, it fires in a horizontal path. It doesn't fire like the Maggie, which shoots in a shotgun-like spread. So it's like different Maggie somehow will be, actually. For now, it's just ammo reduction, the one that's up.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's definitely debated. I personally think that because it's a gun you get right away, that it should only be 1 ammo. Um, Even if we were to like reduce the mag size down to 3, so that it would still be a 3-shot, and then tweak stuff around. There's definitely some debate there, which is really like we were saying before, is like a huge part of this is that we go back and forth on this stuff all the time, and so that's being tested. Just like today, we're going through and testing that, seeing how that feels.
Yeah, the other rough thing about the Smasher is the bullpup is so fucking good. In the
Mm-hmm.
Smasher, it was it was pretty bad actually. I was really
Yeah,
disappointed by that
there's a
gun.
comparison.
I mean, even
There.
not even by comparison, it's just not a very great pistol. So
Yeah, and when it was 1 ammo, I was running around with it, and it still wasn't like amazing, but it was better than like the starting pistol. And
yeah,
I'd still say it wasn't as good as the bullpup, but I think that's fine considering how much ammo you get for pistols to start out with.
yep.
So when it was one damage, it wasn't super unique, but I felt like it fit for like a starting gun, you know.
Mm-hmm. So you guys did a lot of work on the 2 scoops. I'm gonna cover the shit out of that because that was one of my guns.
But
They showed off the pre-sequel. I was like so excited for that when the game came out. When I got it in normal mode, it was so cool. And then in True Vault Hunter, it was less cool. And then UVHM, it was not cool at all.
Yeah,
yeah,
it was pure
yeah,
sadness, actually.
Yeah.
yeah. I'm really happy you say that because you had mentioned it, and so I'm like, you know what? That's a really good point. And so I spent probably like half a day tweaking it till I got it how I want it. And it's not 2 shots now. It's like it shoots, I think 4. And we look 4 projectiles.
Mm-hmm.
But oh, it's so fun though to run around with now because you freeze almost. You can. I've had it up to like 5 different Kragans at once, all getting frozen, and you just go in there with a rocket launcher after, and they all just explode, and it's amazing.
Yep.
God, it's so
And
much fun to
itself,
run around with.
and in itself, right now, it actually can do some damage. It's still not a very great gun, but it's
But with like
leagues above everyone.
Aurelia's cryo boost, or if you stack with Athena, because I actually kind of made it work at level 70 with Athena. I had like a Winter Soldier build with her cryocom, and I would do all of her passive stacking things, throw a few Stormfronts, and the 2 scoops would actually do fairly good damage. And because it was such a big AOE, hitting all those people and freezing them, it was a tough loop to manage. Like if I didn't play it in a while, I get rusty at it and suck at it. So hopefully, if that's boosted up a little bit, like it will be able to be min-maxed a little bit and actually be used for some fun.
Yeah, I have personally tested it on Aurelia extensively because that's like the main character I play. And I was going around with the new viral marketers on Shock and Fire, and then running around with that. Run out of shotgun ammo constantly, but it did work really well because of the fact that it freezed your Maelstrom stacks. Helped a ton, and I just melted Iwajira using like all my different buffs and stuff. It was a lot of fun.
That's what's cool with that. Those buffs actually enable new playstyles, and that's the point of the whole thing, actually.
Yep. The Crybaby you guys buffed quite a bit. Do you guys want to touch on that one a little bit?
Yeah, Jim
Yeah,
can take
that one is not really finished. I was looking into not only giving it generic damage buff, because that's actually uninspired, but this gun actually had a problem with its projectile speed. If you ever used it, you'll know that it's kind of slow, especially the wiggly one. I was trying to buff that, but for whatever reason, its accessory I changed on it. For whatever reason, it reverted the projectile speed. And then I had a wiggly one with faster projectile, but the non-wiggly one did not have the faster projectile. Then I changed both of them, and then the rage variant had a problem. So I tried to change all of them, and when I did all of them, none of them worked. I don't know how that works, but yeah, it was a mess, and it took me like half a day just to figure out how to make this. And for now, I left it there, gave it just a little bit more damage, plus the assault rifle buffs make it have that much, which is 50% almost.
Okay. Because yeah, that was a sad gun, no pun intended. There, that just the concept of the Crybaby was so cool, and then you went and used it, and it just didn't really work.
Well, its concept is actually that it makes you cry.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Hopefully, by the end of this, you'll be crying tears of joy instead of sadness.
Yes. I mean, I remember even trying to make that work with Jack, and Jack's like can make everything work, and like I could kill things with it, but not like it should.
Yeah. Well, then you have guns like the Boxy that just kill you instead of you killing it.
Oh, the Boxy. I'm going to get into that one in a second. The Excalibastard, you guys buff that up to 200% melee damage. I personally love that because the other thing the pre-sequel's missing, and I think a lot of people's opinions, was really good melee. Like, Athena is really not pure melee. She's melee hybrid. And, Nisha's got a little bit of melee. You can do a Claptrap melee, but none of these guys are like pure melee characters like Zero and Krieg and Brick. So by giving an actual buffed melee damage gun, and this one makes sense to be it, I think that's a good step in the right direction of making an endgame pure melee character.
Yeah, and I think that was like a really key change that we made. I felt Jim thought of that one. I felt that was really smart. I didn't think of that. It really fits it thematically, and I think that, like you were saying, there just wasn't enough built to make a melee character. Like you were saying, they're all hybrids, and so I feel adding at least something to support it might make it viable, but I have not tried it out yet.
And you guys said for me, shooting you some messages, that skills are currently like way off, kind of future dreaming at this point because there's some issues with that, so people shouldn't be too excited about that right now.
Yeah, I actually think we should discuss this later on because this is an actual big thing.
Okay, we'll put a pin in that one.
Yeah, this is like a whole nother can of worms. There's a lot that goes into editing skills.
Yep.
That we could talk about probably for its own thing, but just to keep it short, we'll do it a little bit later because it's a lot.
Yep. I just wanted to let people know, like, before we get much future, like, don't push these guys on doing skills a lot right now because that's not really in the current plan as we are.
Yeah, like when you see skills changed, then you can talk about it. But until then, there's not a whole lot we can do.
Yep.
I mean, the only skill that I can change right now without it being a hotfix change, it's Wilhelm's Power Fist, actually, believe it or not.
That's weird.
Similar to Scorn, I can make its cooldown shorter without actually the need of hotfix, and some other melee override skills. Unfortunately, not Athena's, because Athena's is a little bit
DLC.
weird because it doesn't have an actual cooldown. It has
Yeah.
some triggers. If you hit someone and it's not bleeding, then you don't get cooldown. If you kill that guy, you don't get cooldown. If you miss or don't kill a bleeding target, then you get a cooldown. And
Huh.
because there are those triggers in place, it actually cannot be done without.
And I think that one's actually fine as it is.
It is, but when you actually miss, sometimes, not when you not kill the enemy,
Yeah.
it feels like it punishes you a bit too much. 12 seconds is a
Yeah.
bit too much. And most of the time, it's not even the player's fault for missing that skill.
Yeah, a bad cryo hitbox or some stupid thing like that.
Hmm.
So you brought over the hammer gun, spin gun.
Yeah, yeah, that was. I wanted, like I was saying before, I wanted to at least make certain guns feel a little more unique, and it was called the Hammerbuster 2.
Yep.
And so, how you can make a Hammerbuster better except by making it look way cooler and do more damage? And so I did. I just ported over my Hammerbuster Gatling gun mod, and it's a lot of fun to play with in the pre-sequel because of cryo. It's
Yep.
way better. It doesn't necessarily kill things like a ton faster than it did in the Borderlands 2 one I made, but it's a lot. It takes a little bit more skill to use because you're not just running around going up to people's faces.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of weapon swapping that happens when you're playing with it. And so with people like Jack, who have buffs like that, or with Nisha, who has really fast reload speed in her action
Yeah.
skill, you can put a lot of work out, even with the small mag size.
Nice. So then the Fatale, Bowfly, and Viral Marketer all are all elements now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that and any of the other part lock stuff. I think the only one that's implemented other than those right now is okay, so it's the long nail can now spawn with any parts. The Fatale can spawn with any elements. Same with the Viral Marketer, and the Blowfly can all spawn with whatever they want. Little joke was I named the Blowfly the Fruit Fly. It can be all the different colors. So
That makes sense.
yeah,
You already talked about the IVF. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Right. Speaking of the Fatale, I actually had a disagreement about that because Fatale and Cheat Code are actually the same gun, so having Fatale in all elements made Cheat Code redundant in a way.
I
So
got
Smith actually had a nice idea yesterday, which
yeah.
actually worked. Do you
It's a
wanna
lot
say
of
that
fun.
one?
It's a lot of fun. So I figured, why not make the cheat code a glitch weapon? Because it sort of plays into the whole cheat thing, and it can spawn with loon shines, and so you can have both on there.
Nice.
And I played through the entire Claptrap DLC because I forgot about the fact that we can just assign a mission reward to it. I played through the whole thing again just to get it from Jack after it, and it's ridiculous because you can't right now we can't change skins or anything for some reason. It won't let us. Because of that, you can't see the glitch when it happens. All of a sudden your gun just starts shooting and you can't stop it, and so you just reload your gun and you go into some guy, and then all of a sudden your SMG turns into a shotgun. And we're playing around with that a little bit. I'm swapping back and forth between whether or not I want it to be a gun that can spawn with two glitches at the same time, which I've done before and is really interesting on a normal, glitch rarity gun because you can actually see which one it is. But I'm not really sure if that is going to play well. So that's still
Still in
changing
the
a lot.
works.
Yeah, it's still in the works, but I figured we might as well make the cheat code something a little more interesting thematically. So that's what's been done to make it to distinguish it a little bit from the
Nice.
Fatale.
So next up, the Jackal Cannon projectiles. You gave it more projectiles and speeded it up.
Yeah,
That one was a bit sad
weird
too.
one. Yeah. The problem with that one is it's still, even though I gave it 5 projectiles, it isn't that good. And maybe it's just the characters I'm playing it on, but even Jack, it's just a little lackluster because you have these giant pumpkins exploding, and I tried making like almost like full speed like a bullet, and that was just a disaster. Just don't do that. Don't even ask why. Just don't. So I made it so that it'll at least go more or less where you're pointing, but it's probably just a frag trap gun because the explosions don't do enough, in my opinion. It's just a little lackluster because it's hard to get. It just doesn't crit. There's nothing you can really do about it, and so it's sort of just a fun gun to run around with. It's not particularly viable yet.
Speaking of non-creating guns, I actually started back the legendary dull lasers today. Those are awful.
Oh
Possibly.
yeah, I could have told you that. I tried that like a week ago and I just stopped.
The which
Yeah,
ones?
The dull lasers like
ZX1
the
and Cat
ZX1.
9.
Oh yeah.
Let me check actually what I did to him because I have him right here. Alright. So I gave the ZX1 a huge boost because that thing was pure sadness. Because it cannot crit, right?
Yep.
And people are gonna bring up Nisa like she can crit with grenades, she can crit with that and that. We are not taking into consideration Nisa when making this because Nisa can break even the standard grenade if she wants to.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
It's not
I
it's
think
sound.
that's important. Like in Borderlands 2, you can't take Sal into effect or you can't do anything.
it's the Gunzerker effect
Yep.
basically. It's you can't consider it when you're trying to balance something because I can go around with anything and just destroy everybody with Nisha. You know, it's not fun at that point if you build her a certain way. So it's not worth like putting any effort into trying to balance it for her because then it just sucks for everyone else.
Yep.
And so the idea I had for ZX1 and Shadow 9 was to buff their damage, of course, but to give them a continuous bonus damage effect.
That
Problem
works.
is that this didn't really work. I tried hard as I might. I asked some people around to see what could have been wrong. I even looked at in the machine's code, which it's a lot of sniper rifle which has continuous bonus damage.
Hmm.
Nothing actually really worked. I went into great depth into that one, so I just had to buff its damage even more. For example, the ZX1, right now, if I remember correctly, has about a bit more damage than the purple uh, variation of the dull lasers. And if you remember, it's actually 1/3 of the damage of purple variation normally, something like that. And the homing, which is not great actually, because it misses like 60% of the time.
Hmm.
It rarely works as intended.
Yeah, it's
On the
just one
other
of
hand, I
those
don't want to
guns.
give it like a 300% damage buff because that's a crazy damage boost. And
Yeah.
yeah, the Cat 9 actually was a little bit easy. Just make it have the same damage as its purple counterpart, and it worked great. Actually, I'm not having a big of an issue with the Cat 9, but the ZX1 is pure sadness.
Yeah, it's just more gearbox overbalancing everything. Where
Yep.
it's like the Seeker from the Tiny Tina DLC,
Yep.
where it it's cool, but it just doesn't work really. Now, if
Yeah.
you, I played that a little bit and I sped up the bullet speed, and that helped a little bit. But like he was saying, there's not a whole lot you can do for that gun aside from just buffing the damage or trying to do a complete rework, which it does not like.
I mean,
It is
just
not a
buffing
friendly gun.
damage can be uninspired, but sometimes it's still the right move.
Mm-hmm.
So, a few things that I thought about, because I've been thinking about different guns and stuff. Another gun category that at least I felt was a little bit of sadness was the laser snipers, railguns.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because they don't get sniper buffs like Aurelia's tree and stuff like that. Never saw anybody really using railguns all that much, and maybe they just need a category buff, whether it's like crit or damage or fire rate, because they are painfully slow.
Yeah.
And the mining laser along with that, because I love the mining laser, but it's just a little slow.
Yeah, and I was reading some of the comments on some people's videos, and they were mentioning that. And so I think what I'm playing with right now is what's probably going to happen is reducing the ammo consumption by either 1 or 2, because I feel like 4 is just a little bit too much for what they do, and then probably a fire rate bonus of about 50%. I was playing with it, and that felt maybe not optimal, but it did feel much more usable at that point.
You have to keep in mind though that being a laser, while not getting the sniper buffs, which makes sense because it's not sniper,
Yeah.
it gets buffed by the bulwark, the 80.
Yeah, good point.
It's a really big combo in this game.
Oh, especially because they're both. It's a good shield and a good Oz kit. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and something that we're gonna look into sooner or later is actually buffing the other Oz kits because there are rarely cases where you use anything rather than the 80. Like Jack and Claptrap can use the meteoric one, which give them the free grenade chance.
Yep.
Aurelia might use the critical one. Do you really snipe while jumping and boosting on air? And I
Not
don't really
really.
think many do that.
I think I'm the
So-
only one because I like jumping so much.
The critical hit accuracy one. I forgot the name of it, but the only time I've found
It's
that
the
really
precision
helpful. Oh yeah, precision is on like shotgun builds. Like it work. That thing works great with the flare or any
Yeah.
Jacob shotgun.
And I actually found how to remove the is airborne tag on the Oz kits.
That could be
And,
cool.
I'm trying to add the
some
airborne
of
tag
those
right now.
What?
I'm trying to add the airborne tag to some guns and it is not working. It's not fun.
Yeah, sometimes something simple, it's actually not simple. Like the continuous damage, it seems simple as, and it just not doesn't work, no matter how hard we try. Right. Removing all the airborne tags in an Oz kit, even the slam airborne tag, actually makes it into a relic. It looks the same, but loses the slam ability at all.
Yeah, it's weird.
And Precision one actually is the one that I checked, and if I actually do remove the airborne tag, I might need to nerf it because 73% critical strike plus 50% accuracy at all
Always on.
times.
Yeah, that's a bit.
Yeah, that's a bit like 3 skills combined.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just all like a weird dance of trying to balance things while also not making them completely insane, but
Yep.
trying
Yeah,
to make them good enough to actually use. It's
Yeah, because that's
insane.
one other thing. People actually say that the game is easy, and it's actually guns that some guns need to be nerfed instead of buffed.
Mm-hmm.
Which actually Smith already did something similar with what was it, the IVF.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Although, like Shadow said, nerfing is in an a copy game is never something fun, but in this case it actually might work in some guns. We're not really sure. We're having a disagreement with that one.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing for everyone listening to keep in mind, like as they're talking about this stuff, none of this is written in stone. It can all change. So like feedback can change everything. So if you guys don't like something,
Exactly.
or guess what, if I download a patch and there's like one thing I really don't like about it, now I know not everyone's this savvy, but I'm just gonna roll through and find that thing and just delete it and like, all right, cool, I'm happy now.
Yeah,
That's
and
the other
ours
benefit of
is
these
labeled specifically for people to do that. Like every single change in here has either asterisks or a ton of pound keys showing and labeling like every single thing and what it does. Like
Yeah, it's
there's
actually
like
really
20
easy.
lines for the Loonshine thing, and every single one of them tells you exactly what's been changed.
Yep.
Specifically for that purpose, because we don't want to like force people to use all these changes in any way.
Speaking of that, Jim, you did the Loonshines, right?
Yeah,
Do you want to touch base on
it's
those?
my second big project actually. Yeah. So while playing, while playing the playtest run, which I did to check the loot overhaul, I actually got some loan shines, and I noticed that they were actually not great. Like I didn't really care if I had them or not. So I thought let's swap it up a little bit. We could actually change them completely, but this again is something custom, and I don't really want to make many custom things because that way the community cannot make its own custom things, right? Conflicts. So I started by seeing the Serenity one, which was on card it said 20% the reduction of O2. In action it was actually 5% or less. So I looked that one up, I buffed it, I found a way, I made it 20. I said 20 is not either great again, made it 40. I was like, why not make it like Claptrap? So basically now when you wear this loon sign, you have to keep in mind it's when you're holding the weapon, not when you have it on the inventory.
Yep.
Then you're like Claptrap. You only lose O2 while jumping, while boosting actually. You actually lose about 1 O2 per minute, which is nothing.
Yeah.
It works similar to the damage reduction. I cannot make it 100%, even if I make the number like a million. It will always be around 99, 98%. Right
And-
now it's about 96% reduction.
And for some people, the O2 like broke the game for it. They just drove them nuts and they couldn't play the game because of it. I didn't think the O2 was that big of a deal,
I can't
but
really see that. There are like oxygens everywhere. But
yeah.
on the
But
other hand, I have
I
a
heard
friend.
it.
Yeah, it's
On the other hand, I have a friend who actually had the problem. Like, dude, check the minimap. There are geysers everywhere. Each enemy you kill drops a bottle. Why? Why are you having a problem with this?
It's
Yep.
just people who aren't as skilled of players and aren't really aware of everything on the map at all times don't really notice that stuff as easily. Probably just the issue is not having the same map awareness as some of these other people who, like us, have put like too much time into these games and aren't used to going around and making sure you're picking everything up and seeing there's geysers everywhere. It's really just practice is all it is, and some people just don't really want to.
Not
And
to
you
be
only run out of O2
too,
when you jump. But even that, I mean, there are geysers every 5 steps.
not to be too much of a dick, but I kind of felt like some of those people were just looking for something to complain about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they do
they're-
that a lot with
Yeah,
this game.
it's with this game. There's not like at launch, it had big problems.
It had problems.
And
So did
Now,
Borderlands
though-
2 and 1, though.
yeah, no, see that's the point, is
Yeah,
that they
sure.
loved those other games so much it didn't really matter. Whereas this one, people, because I feel because there's so much carried over from Borderlands 2, it felt too much like it. And people kept comparing it, and it's not the same game. You have to treat it as something else. And because it was so similar, people kept comparing it, and people just kept saying it was not as good as Borderlands 2, and so it just gave them more reason to complain.
Yep. In Borderlands 2, I don't know if you guys ever got this, but there was a save file bug where instead of rewriting your file every time you went by a save point, it added it to the save file. So your save file just grew in size, and then your game would freeze. So I got it to the point where I would be playing co-op and someone walked by a save point and I'd walk off the world because my game would freeze for like 30 seconds and I had to stop playing the game. Like the pre-sequel didn't have
the early days. I kind of remember that.
Yeah, like people
I never
forget
had that happen.
Yeah, people forget that, Borderlands 2 didn't launch perfectly either. So like they kept complaining it was like a glitchy mess and I'm like, and Borderlands 2 wasn't, but Borderlands 2 was, and so was Borderlands 1.
I mean, Borderlands 1 had a bunch of weird stuff.
And I mean, Borderlands 2 is still buggy at many things. I mean, just look at Salvador and the Amplids, or Salvador in general.
Yeah, and it's people find more like all the time. You see Shadow or Jolt's dude find like new random ways to just break the game. Just because there's so much going on. These games are so big. There's so many weapons. There's bound to be random stuff that just doesn't work as intended, or somehow combos with something else way too good,
Yep.
Yeah, like the Torque Hub thing, Blagger Hub, I don't even remember how it's called.
Oh yeah, the Pimp Hab, Black Hab, that whole build.
Yeah, those combos, which not only Salvador can do, actually even Axton can do that, or Maya, or anyone actually.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've seen people do that with like chain reaction, where they'll shoot a Pimpernel and switch to a Norfleet, and while it's chain reacting, it's got Norfleet damage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they're on their own, they're feel free to do anything, but if you're playing on a party, don't be a dick about it. Why do this on a party?
Oh yeah, so Moonshines. After that run. Yeah, you did the critical hit one, you doubled.
Yeah, because 10% actually, while it was good, it wasn't something you really
barely
cared for. Yeah. 20% is still about the same. Like, you still don't really care much about, but it's definitely better than 10%.
Yep.
It's something that if you drop it on an AR or a SMG, you're gonna be proud that you have it, but if you don't, you're not really gonna care.
Yeah. The Oxygenator, I like that, because I really like the Systems Purge. In fact, I was doing a video on the Systems Purge last night, but I had some kind of like crash in the middle of it and it dropped a bunch of frames and fucked up, so I got to redo it. But I was actually talking about using that Lunestein with the Systems Purge and just loving it.
Yeah, and actually it might be a little bit too much, especially for that combo. And it also helps with people who actually complain about the O2. It actually might help even more than the Serenity one, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Because what people forget about that one, it's per hit, not per kill.
Yeah.
And it's pretty easy to get a lot of hits. And doesn't that work with multi-projectiles?
I think
it doesn't.
No?
I think it
okay.
doesn't,
I
but
forgot.
I
It's
haven't
been a
really
while.
extensively checked it.
I have to
I'm
double
not
check.
Per shot, actually.
I used it a lot back in True Vault Hunter mode. Before UVHM came out, but that was a long time ago.
It's a fun one. Even at the 1/10 of what it is now, it's a fun one.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why this, as everything in the patch, actually is subject to change. 10 might be a bit too much. Might need to make it 5 or 6.
Yeah,
But I felt
I like your
making
note.
the Lunesteins good.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I felt.
But I like your note on here. System Purge combo can be like the B, but not quite. What I want to point out to people, and I did this in that video I just made, but I lost the video, is the Systems Purge is like it's its own separate damage. It's almost like Cloud Kill to a point. It's not affected by your gun damage at all. So if you shoot, a level 1 pistol or a level 80 pistol, the Systems Purge is going to do the same damage. And it's not in your gun damage formula like the B. It's just like a splash damage that has no effect of gun damage. So you can't
it's a separate thing.
Yeah, you can't boost the Systems Purge damage like you could amp damage.
Yeah, and it doesn't get compounded like amp damage used to with the conference call and things like that.
Yep.
For unlisted projectiles or shotguns,
Yep.
stuff like that, it
Like
doesn't work like that.
body shot or crit, systems purged does the exact same damage.
Right. So the next one, hard enough. This was actually pretty sad.
Yeah, it
On
was.
my playtesting run, I had a shield with about 300 capacity. This gave it about 10 more capacity. Is that actually something you really want on your gun? 10 capacity on a 300 shield? And
No.
even let's scale it up to UVHM. Let's say you have a 50-100 shield. That would be still less than 1,000 if my math is not wrong here.
Which is not
So
worth it.
it's not really. It's sad. So I give it a considerable buff, and while
Yeah.
holding the gun now, you get 15% more shield capacity, which is about like half a skill,
Yep.
I suppose. I think it's pretty decent. The fast learner, then, that's a major one. Many people actually complain that the XP scale in UVHM is terrible and it takes forever to reach 70. They're actually not wrong. I actually looked in the code yesterday. Sado gave me a nice variable to look into. It has pretty juicy stuff in it. And I actually found the UVHM data in there. Actually, the game gives you less and less XP the more levels you get. Not as an amount, but as in a multiplier, actually.
Yeah.
So let's say you kill someone for 1,000 XP on level 60,
Yeah.
right? On level 61, that same enemy, well, let's say it's scaled up one level as well, so it's the same XP. That enemy will actually give you 900 XP.
Huh.
So that is actually something we can fix, but now I made the loan sign great for this.
Yeah.
By giving it from about 2%, it was nothing actually. And wikis actually had nothing on it. And looking around, found the percentage, and I had to playtest a lot, kill a lot of stuff just to get the number. And since the enemies are not in a certain level, some are like 19 level, then there are 22, there are 21, there are 20. That was in my playtest round. That's why those levels are low. The XP was differing, so I had to do a lot of testing to find out that it was actually about 3% of max. So I gave it a 40%. Now it's something that can help in UVHM a lot, I
Mm-hmm.
believe.
Nice. Boominator. This one, yeah, you.
Yeah, that had the same problem as the Serenity. The card said 5%, but it wasn't even anywhere close to that. And yeah, it was like 2.5% at best. And I checked this without skills, without bar, without anything, on the weapon range. So it's not like I had a skill, so the addition, the multiplication messed it up and it was lower percentage. No, no,
Yeah.
no. This was clean, and on clean it did way less than 5%. But even though that, I even buffed it about 10% right now.
Yeah, and 10%
Still
is
it's
not
okay.
broken. It's
Mhm.
nice, but it's not broken.
Yeah, it's just enough to, help you out when you're going through the game. It's not something that's gonna completely change how you play or anything like that. It's just something, a little boost.
Yep. And
The next one is
Safeguard should be
actually
pretty
quite
nice now.
big. What?
Yeah, Safeguard should be really nice now.
Yeah, and if you combo that with systems purge and an atmosphere and a rerouter, you can actually get great results with this, especially if you have any sealed region abilities.
Mm-hmm.
Jack is gonna love that one.
I was thinking Aurelia's going to love it because she's such a glass cannon that something like that, she can kill so fast. I should keep her a lot healthier.
Mm-hmm. I just like playing Jack as a tank, so
Yeah.
it's just it's a really nice one, that one, because it's very versatile. Like, you can do a few different things with it. It's not like it's only gonna be useful for one thing.
Yep.
Yeah, you can even use it on Nova shields actually. And
Yep.
the original percent I made was 15%, but people on the Discord server noted out that it was actually on par with some skills and might be a bit too much to have it at 15%. So I dropped it. It's about 11 to 12% actually. So, but I wrote 10% just for round numbers. But it's
Okay.
around there now.
And then piercing rounds didn't need to change because that one was pretty much what you almost always used.
Yeah, that was really good. But I'm even thinking that means that you're actually having a 70% chance to hit the shield either way.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to use a cold weapon extensively without being Aurelia, that would actually be pretty good if it was buffed a little bit further. But since it's actually the only good one, I didn't really touch it. I want people to tell me now if the piercing round actually feels weak in comparison to the other ones now. If that's the case, then I might give it a little boost. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna double it.
Because it's
Maximum it's
30%
gonna
right
be
now?
50%. No, it's not 50. It's not 50. It's yeah. Sorry, it's unchanged actually.
Yeah.
What I wrote in the notes is that I might buff it to 50 in the future. Right now it's unchanged.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Alright. And the
And
next change
then,
is the one that Nikita Z made. We're actually really proud for that one. That he actually fixed the cryo element, the Mad 1 pistols. Those could never spawn in game, and having a cryo probe, people actually wasted hours and hours just on a safe quit to find a cryo probe.
That's pretty funny, actually.
Yeah, actually, I was one of those people, but I only wasted about 15 minutes. Then I give one. Then I give the one because, ah,
yeah, I'm pretty sure I just gave one in at one point.
Yeah, it's it's fine. We all do it.
But yeah, Maliwan cryo pistols should be pretty awesome.
Yeah, they
yeah,
are.
they're pretty cool actually. Pun intended.
Yeah, it's that one was a little tricky to implement for some reason. It just didn't want to spawn. It was weird, but it didn't take too long to figure it out. Nikki whipped that out pretty quick, actually.
And
then,
then oh, sorry, go on.
no, go ahead. I was
Yes.
seeing what was next.
Oh yeah, so you guys added a lot of auto pickup stuff, which is very cool and much needed.
Oh yeah, some of those notes are actually double because I actually buffed the Excalibur and the Moonstone pickup were in my original project, and I actually didn't remove it in the patch notes. So yeah, Excalibur and Moonstones are and the US travel point is twice in the notes. Yeah, that's not something big. I hope people don't think that Excalibur is buffed twice. I hope people don't think that.
The next big part is the loot overhaul. I don't think
Yeah,
I
this
want
one's
to read
all-
through every drop because I think that's boring just listing them all off. But do you
Yeah,
want to
sure.
you want to talk about this because this is a really big deal and I don't want to sell it short, but I don't want to like just this drops from this person, this drops from that person.
Yeah, sure. I get that. It's actually pretty huge, and it's really why I moved it below the actual patch notes. First, it was above because, as you said, it's actually a big thing. And this was the first thing that I thought that needed fixing in this game. I mean, even if some guns were terrible, not having like 40% of the guns farmable or more, I think that was even a bigger problem. So I tried to fix that. So, I actually assigned every single legendary to one of the farmable bosses. The reason I used farmable bosses instead of new sources like, per se, Magma Rivers or Wally Wrong. Um, Pre-sequel is actually quite picky with its hotfixes. I tried to give a pull to Magma Rivers, for example, and that just crushed my game every time I did. I tried very much. So, because the project was actually delayed like a week or 2 weeks, I was like, I'm gonna assign about 2 to 3 drops to its farmable already boss. Maybe remove some of their drops and give them to another source, like I removed Black Snake from Red and gave it as a quest reward for the same quest that you meet, Red and Barrel,
Hmm.
right? Um, and gave Red the Badaboom, if I remember right. And which else? Let me check
Big
first. He
Thumper.
has the Big Thumper and the Badaboom, right? Because he's a flying boss, I thought the Badaboom was something neat on him.
Hmm.
And basically, that's something that I tried a lot to do. This that I tried to find bosses that are actually fitting this.
Yeah.
I mean, like so. Let's see, like the infection. Oh no, no, it's not infection. What was it? Uh,
Pandemic.
yeah, and the pandemic. Just because the baddest dragon drops the fourth season, I actually gave him all the blood of maids, and because it's not an actual boss that you farm and you can find multiple of those, I
Shouldn't be too
actually
bad.
I actually gave more drops to the badass enemies that can be farmed, like the Torque Dredgers. Actually, they're not badass Torques. They're Torque Dredgers. That's what they're called. And the badass Dragons. Badass Dragons have all the elemental blood of maids, and the Torque Dredgers have multiple stuff and have 4 stuff actually in them.
I
Yeah,
think
and
Right.
that's
that's
like Nell. You gave him 3 different sniper rifles.
yeah.
Yeah, because I felt like he's the sniper
Yep. No, that makes sense to me. I
guy
get it.
drop, so I gave him more. I didn't give him all the snipers though.
No, not all of
I
them.
don't
Just
remember
three:
which one.
Invader,
But
Magma, and Skullmasher.
yeah,
I've got it open.
Yeah.
I also want to say, like, some people might be saying, "Oh, you just crowded all these loot pools," and we learned from Saturn and Bunker crowded loot pools are bad. But you were limited on who you could give drops to, so somebody's
yeah, I
had to get
was really
crowded.
limited. I have actually thought of a fix on that. You know how a boss, when you kill him, if he drops his legendary, he only drops one, right?
Yeah.
There's actually a variable in its pool that says quantity, and that quantity is always set to 1.
Ah.
While testing if that actually works, I set that number to 5 and then went and used the other line that makes them always drop, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I went to the power suit noob. He actually dropped all the drops I assigned to him, and there were 5 in the number, right?
Nice.
So I'm actually thinking of giving double quantity. It doesn't mean that when you drop you will always drop 2, but you will have the chance to drop 2.
Yeah. So each, instead of having a 1 in 10 chance for him to drop a legendary or his drop, and then it switches those drops, each one is a 1 in 10 chance to drop.
Hmm.
Right.
Right.
That's very
That,
cool.
and it's something easy to implement actually, and I'm really thinking of adding that because, as you can see, there are some which are really crowded, but on the other hand, then there are the badass Torques and badass Dragons, and do you really want 2 legendaries from killing a badass?
No.
Yeah. I do like though the fact that you did assign them to the badasses because that sort of gives a better chance to just you're going through a playthrough and surprise you get legendary weapon that'll carry you for a few levels. I think it's like some of my favorite stuff from playing through Borderlands is when you get some insane early on and it will carry you for like 5 levels or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, especially in normal mode,
Hmm.
legendaries do keep for some level. There's a slight note actually that I want to make here. Uh, there have been people actually who said like the X gear is OP on X character. Well, we all know Lady Fist needs some.
Yeah.
Alright. Um, while doing that, I mean, we mentioned it earlier, we are not thinking on Mesa. And that's the same for complete loot overhaul. We especially me, because I made most of it.
All of
Uh,
it.
all of it actually, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think like the X weapon would be strong on Wilhelm, the other weapon will be strong on Athena. No, 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 no. My project was to make everything viable. Not viable, foundable,
Yep.
actually. Yeah. Um,
Yeah. The
alright.
balance of each character was not accounted for in that project. It was not part of the purpose of it.
And it's always choice. If you think Lady Fist or Badaboom or whatever is OP on whatever character, don't use it. If you're not
Yeah.
having fun with that gun, why use it?
Yep.
And it's not like a game that has a big copy variant. I mean, I played some copy with a friend, but it's
It's not like
very
those
rare
people
to
already
actually
couldn't
find
get the Lady
a
Fist in.
party.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah, go ahead.
well, yeah, I was just saying that just because it's farmable doesn't mean you're gonna get every time, and it doesn't mean that it's gonna break the game or anything. It was in there, like you said, you just give it in. It just makes it. It gives you something that you can do if you've run out of like guns or you really need something to level up. There's options.
Exactly, because actually in this game you can actually really play with purple ones and do great. You don't need legendaries, you don't need uniques. You can actually play with whatever in this game.
Hmm.
Yep.
One run I did with a friend, for example, he was like, "Oh, you can't have fun in this game if you're not having the best stuff and this and that." And we started from the start, and he picked Nisa because he thought that would be the most fun. And I picked Wilhelm, built it with scav only weapons, with blades only, and a roid shield. And that carried me up to level 60 with no problems. I played Scav Wilhelm with Royd till 60, no problem. I had fun. Power Fist is an amazing skill.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
the nice thing about the pre-sequel is they softened up the scaling a little bit to kind of make those things. Like I noticed scav guns in the pre-sequel were much better than Bandit in Borderlands 2.
Hmm.
And I don't know if they buff scav guns in the pre-sequel or it's just the softer scaling.
I'm pretty sure it's just the softer scaling. From what I've looked at, there isn't a whole lot different. If you account for the scaling, there isn't a whole lot different damage wise,
Mhm.
or even accuracy, fire rate kind of stuff. But there have been some people saying that it's too easy and asking for like OP levels and things like that.
I've
And
seen that.
yeah, that has been taken into consideration, and there may be a thing that we come out with that will allow people to do that. And in fact, it's something that wouldn't take too much time necessarily to implement,
yeah,
but it
we actually,
probably, yeah, we're actually looking at it, but it's probably not going to be part of
yeah,
the community patch unless,
definitely not a part.
yeah, unless it's something where we can actually like somehow turn the, you know, the little menu that you can
A trigger
select your
thing, yeah.
values. Yeah. The problem is that with triggers, it's not nearly as simple with this
Yeah, because it's an
method.
addition thing, and addition, I think you already know, it's not a thing that can happen. Basically, we work with a notepad.
Yeah.
People overestimate what we can do actually at times.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not using like Unreal Engine or anything like that. We're literally using Notepad for all of this.
Although Dave likes to disagree with that. The things Dave makes are actually, I don't even know how he even gets the idea to make those things,
Dave's
let,
been
let
doing
alone
insane
make
shit.
them.
Yeah.
Dave's a
Yeah,
wizard.
said
I
Dave.
think he's an
Yeah.
alien. He's
And
not
he's been doing
human.
it fast. Like
Yeah.
the how was that? The one shot, the sniper that kills you, the
Yeah,
all or
yeah, yeah.
nothing.
He
We brought
was,
that up in Spunky's stream, and he like 24 hours later he had it made.
well, he couldn't for a while. He was trying to figure out how to do it. He completely forgot about the Morningstar sniper rifle,
Mm-hmm.
and he like hopped in the Discord, and I remembered about it, and he's like, "Holy fuck!" You know, it's he then proceeded to crank it out in like a few hours. Like
Yeah, it was insane.
he implements way quicker for whatever reason. He's just fast with whatever he does, and he makes amazing skins,
Yeah,
like
Dave is
awesome
insane.
stuff.
Let's see what else. Oh yeah, you guys. The shock drop is now repeatable. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
love the shock
Hey,
drop. I think the shock drop, in my opinion, is the best arena map Gearbox has
It's
made.
it's actually pretty good. It's small. It's fast.
Mm-hmm. I wish the spawns were better in it.
Yeah, bandits are not really that hard, and badasses are not even that often
Yeah.
there.
And just more variety of enemies or whatever. But the map itself, I fucking love just playing around in that map. It's so much fun.
Oh yeah, it's the opposite of the Hyperion arena in Borderlands
Oh
2.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
But also, you gave all the Moxie guns as quest rewards for doing that, which is very cool.
yeah, that's still under consideration actually. I like the idea, definitely. Else I wouldn't even make it. Uh, I might even move the Haymaker to another slot and give two Moxie choices. You can't take both weapons. That's something that people always confuse when you say have two rewards in
Yep.
one mission. You only keep the one, you don't get two.
Yeah.
It only makes farming faster, I suppose, in a way.
Yep.
Something about the Moxie weapons, though, and I noticed that actually that is true for Borderlands 2 as well. If you ever farmed for a Creamer, you would have noticed that having it with non-accessory is actually very often.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually looked into that. And the difference between getting a non-accessory, as it's called in the code, and anything else is the same as getting a green or a blue weapon. So you can see it's actually pretty rare to get an accessory on that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
something that we actually fixed. It's not still implemented, but I actually made that yesterday. Nikita actually made it for Probe, and then I actually managed to implement it for the rest of the Moxie weapons because it's actually really annoying to farm and have non-accessory on them.
yeah, that's Nikki and Jim have done crazy stuff with the loot. It's kind of insane, like how much you can do with the simple tools that we have.
Yep.
Um, and I don't even know like how the heck you guys figured out how to do all that stuff. I'm just messing with guns, you know. It's my thing is I'm just replacing and rebalancing as much stuff as I possibly can, and then I come over back online and Jim's then assigned drops to almost every farmable boss in the entire game. So it really
Lots of trial
puts stuff
and
into
error.
perspective. Yeah.
So I have a question with a repeatable quest. Can you make
Yeah.
a storyline quest repeatable without fucking everything up?
It will fuck everything up. I
Damn.
tried it actually.
Because
Yeah.
Here's
I
what
would,
happens actually.
the turret mission is my favorite part of the pre-sequel.
Which one? Which one?
The calibrating the turrets for Felicity.
Hmm.
Oh right, yes.
I like
yes.
to play anti-speed run on that and see how long I can make it last without the
Yeah,
turrets
we all
getting a
do
kill.
that.
And man, I
Yeah, we
wish
all
that
do
was
that.
repeatable. I would fucking do that all day.
Here's what happens though.
It resets the story.
You can make it repeatable. Thing is that most of the story missions don't have a quest giver actually. They have a quest ender, but not a quest giver.
Oh yeah.
It's a trigger.
Yeah, you can't pick it up again if you didn't pick it up to start with. Is the problem?
Yeah, that's so
And every
sad.
time you finish the quest, a message will pop up saying you have played some stuff of that in a previous playthrough. Do you want to skip ahead or no?
Mm-hmm.
And if you press yes, then the repeatable trigger gets cancelled. If you press no, then you lose the progress you had because it resets the quest.
Yep.
It's actually not something that can be done in story missions, at least what I have found so far.
I didn't think it was
Someone might find
possible. I
something
just
smart and do it.
yeah. Like I said, I didn't think that one was possible. I just wanted to double check just in case, because dear God, that would be cool. So that's pretty much most of the notes then. So do you guys have any other?
There's one big
Oh.
one more. The raid mission, actually.
Ah,
Best story ever told. Right.
yeah.
So here's what's going on with that. Many people would farm the Sentinel to get the ZX1, the long nail or whatever, and then grind those weapons to find something else legendary. So I thought, why not make it a little bit different? let's make the raid mission repeatable, and thus you have to do the travel from Concordia to LSR, from LSR to Concordia every
Mm-hmm.
time, but award the player with a legendary instead of the Frostfire. And now that I remember, I actually haven't put Frostfire anywhere, and that's something I must note down actually. Yeah, and the Frostfire needs work because it's way worse than the Tulane. Getting
Hmm.
frozen is
Yeah.
way worse than getting slagged.
Yep.
Yeah,
Alright,
that I've been thinking about just removing the self-freezing thing because that just sucks. That's
Yeah.
not fun.
yeah, it's something that can be done. Shadow did it with the Tulane. I think it's actually the same thing. It won't be that hard, hopefully, unless we have another continuous bonus damage situation here.
Yeah, and I don't think we do, but it should be possible. I'm gonna look into that today.
Alright.
That
And
shouldn't be too hard.
And there
Theoretically.
is one more thing, one fun fact actually. There are many people that say that the X weapon wasn't supposed to be in the game, the devs decided against it. This game was actually supposed to have events. If you remember early in its life cycle, there were a few events, the Christmas event, the Halloween one.
Yep.
Yeah. And on each event they actually gave a gun, right?
Yep.
I am really sure actually I'm gonna say here that every single piece of gear that was unobtainable, fiber, lady fist, heartbreaker,
Yeah,
anything,
Heartbreaker.
was supposed to be given in an event. And why am I saying that now? While working with loot pools, I actually found one which was very interesting. I actually wrote that on the forums as well, if you have checked it. Butter's boils in the loot pool have the fiber, right? But if they actually dropped it, I mean, everybody would have known about that,
Yep.
right? Here's what's going on. There are about 30 or 25 loot pools with names like Badass Boil, Magma Rivers, Wally Rock that are not connected with their named NPCs. So that makes them impossible to get what's in there. No way.
They're just sort of
And yet,
floating there in the code. It doesn't do anything.
yeah. And I found almost everything. For example, in the arena, there is a badass which in the Slaughter Dome, right? There is a badass. Its name is just a badass, nothing special, but he has a pool, and that pool contains every single Moxie weapon inside,
Huh.
and which is why I decided to do that there actually. So I believe
Yeah,
that
so
at
it's like
some
they were
point they
going
will
to
do a
unlock those
hunt or
with
something.
events, but they never did.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
because
they got too lazy in the development, or they just didn't feel like it would be profitable to try and develop a whole new event for a game that people
I,
didn't like.
I believe it has to do with 2K Australia situation being as it is, because that wasn't a fun time for them.
Hmm.
Yeah.
They sort of screwed the pooch on that one. Yeah.
Well, that whole thing's so complicated. Like, I've heard there's
Yeah.
like a bunch of like tax laws got changed that like made it unprofitable. Like so many different things. And one thing I just want to say about the pre-sequel, a lot of people call it a failure, but I don't know if it was a failure. Like,
It very well could have been successful. We don't really know all the
Because-
numbers.
one thing that people never talk about in this, and this doesn't have to do with the community patch, but it's just something I like to bring up, is if you spend $100 making something, you can sell that thing for $200 and do well. If you spend $1,000 making something, you can't sell that for $1,100 and do well. You need to probably sell that for $2,000 to do well.
Hmm.
The pre-sequel
Right.
had a fraction of the development cost of Borderlands 2 because they use the same engine. Also, the marketing campaign for Borderlands 2 is way larger, and the marketing campaign for these things nowadays is becoming a much bigger cost of development. You know, same thing with movies and video games. So, the pre-sequel is made for a fraction of the price of Borderlands 2. Borderlands 2 is insanely, massively successful, like, beyond successful, like, one of the most successful
Games
yeah,
ever.
the most successful game 2K has ever had. So, like, the pre-sequel did not need to come near Borderlands 2 to be a success.
Yeah.
So we don't know
People
that they
compare
like
it
lost
too
money
much.
or failed on it. I'm assuming, I mean, from sales figures I've seen, which on video games is hard to get a hold of, and
Right.
because it was so much smaller and they reused so many assets, I don't think they had to sell a shitload of games to turn a profit on this one.
Probably not. They did a lot of work out of house, and so they were able to outsource a little more cheaper. So it
Yeah.
very well could have been more profitable than we've been led to believe, simply because, like I was saying before, people compare it to Borderlands 2 like at every possible chance they get,
Yeah.
pretty much.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it had half the development cost of Borderlands 2.
Yeah.
This is something that always bugged me, actually, how people actually compare the Borderlands 2. Because in the period that pre-sequel was released, it was the period that Call of Duty games were making like a game every year or something, and each one of them were the same thing, and no one actually complained about that in that period. Now they do, but back
Yeah.
then they didn't. And I was like, why are people complaining this being the same while they're both like their fifth Call of Duty, which is really the same as the previous one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really didn't understand that one, but sure.
Yeah, it was odd. Well, it just seemed like a lot of people wanted to hate on it. They were, I don't know, that's just my take on it, because Gearbox was really open about what the pre-sequel was. They said it's the same engine, but it's set on the moon and you gain double jump, butt stomps, and cryo and lasers. And they said it's going to be smaller, and then people freaked out that it was smaller, when Gearbox said it's smaller than Borderlands 2.
It's not the same thing, you know. It's not going to be the same scope, really. It's just completely different. You can't compare them.
Yeah, and especially when Gearbox told you what to expect. Now, there was some things like the farming. That was a big deal.
Yeah, there were problems.
Yeah, thankfully they fixed that.
You know, the reused raid boss, you know, not having unique raid boss. That was a thing.
Hmm.
But
yeah,
all
that
that
was
went
a missed
into it.
opportunity with the
Yeah.
plastic voyage. EOS
Especially
could have
'cause
had the
I
two
think
versions. But
The Sentinel was a good fight, too. It was way better
Oh,
than the
that
Warrior
was-
fight, if you ask
Oh,
me.
that's fun.
mechanically it
Like,
was.
it is hard that first time you play it. You know, it's not like just straightforward shoot the thing. You know.
Yeah. But anyways, that's not about the community patch. That's just my own little
Yeah,
rant.
true.
And if people are watching this and they've stuck through, I think we've been going for well over an hour now. Like,
Yeah,
think
possible.
about that stuff next time someone's like saying it's a failure and all that stuff, because the people saying that, they don't know. And I don't know it was a success, but I don't know it was a failure.
Yeah, it's not like we don't have the inside numbers or anything to
Yeah,
tell.
we don't get to see the profit and loss statement. But just looking at it from my standpoint, I don't see people mentioning that part of it. Is there anything you guys want to say as to wrap this up?
Oh, only one thing. The penetrator is my baby gun, and it is my favorite thing that I've made so far. So try out the striker next time you boot up pre-sequel. It's a lot of fun to play around with.
Will do.
Right, I think we skipped actually the 3 replacement guns.
Oh yeah, we didn't even
Oh.
talk about any of the replacement guns.
Oh, I didn't.
There are
even
only
see that.
3, and the
Okay.
penetrator is one of those 3. Those are actually, I think it's Smith's only. Not sure if Nikki held with that. Held-
Yeah, Nikki did the white feather, and then I helped him with the Roadrunner one.
Right, I didn't know about that.
Do you guys want to
I
say?
haven't touched replacements at all because something that limits the options of customizability, I think.
See, that's
and it's
a big point of
and
contention.
something that we're actually gonna look into, because there is the possibility we're gonna make 2 versions, one without replacements and one with replacements.
I don't think that's a bad idea. If this is a contention thing, yeah, having 2 versions of the patch, one with and one without, and then if you guys could take a step further than that, not to ask you to do way more work, but if you could just release each replacement separately as like a separate,
Yeah, that's easy,
entry.
actually.
Yeah, we do that.
That's easy.
So far, we've done that with all of them.
Yeah, that way people can choose if they want them or not, and
Well, yeah,
they're there.
and
And
like we were saying before, if they want certain ones or they don't want others, like we said, it is all labeled as clearly as possible. You do have
Yep.
to read through the stuff, but it's not hard to tell which is which.
Yep. Do you guys
Right.
want to just give a few words then on what each replacement is?
Yeah,
Or
I
do you
can
want
do
them to
that.
be surprises?
Maybe we'll take over this.
Yeah, I'll do that really quick. The penetrator is a replacement for the striker shotgun, and it has sort of a few unique effects. I won't go into too much detail, but it has bonuses applied to when you zoom in or sight in, and it also shoots lasers. So I don't remember if I applied penetration to it or not, but it does that. And if it doesn't have penetration right now, it will, because I meant to do that.
Okay.
The white feather is a body shot sniper that gets a large base damage bonus, but has a very large negative critical hit bonus. So even with skills, you are not going to be dealing more damage on crit. You're going to be dealing less every time.
So this is the anti-Nisha.
Yeah,
I fucking love it.
basically. Yeah. Essentially, it was a joke that I had thought of originally, and Nikki and I sort of put it together. He did most of the heavy lifting on that one. Then you have, I think, the Roadrunner is the other one that we have implemented right now. It, if I remember rightly, it replaces the Sledge Assault gun,
Yep.
and it's basically just super fast. It's like if Vladoff decided to make the Shred of Fire of shotguns, essentially. And it's just a ton of fun to play with. It's not going to be like the most amazing or even like a bad gun. It's just a ton of fun to play with.
Yeah,
And
because the damage on that is halved actually from the sledges.
yeah, it's those are the only ones we have right now. There are several that I am doing on my own in my spare time. It is not like the top of the priority list right now, but as more updates come out, there will be more replacement guns.
I kind of chuckle at the idea of spare time when you guys are doing all this.
Yeah.
You would be surprised. Yeah, I spent my entire spring break this week doing just this stuff.
I
Yeah.
struggle with spare time just putting out a couple videos a day. You
Yeah.
guys have done all this.
Yeah, it's mostly just trial and error, just tedious, random stuff. It's once you get the hang of it, once you learn, you can do anything, and that's I think Dave is a perfect example. Like he's had no more time to learn any of this stuff than any of us. He just happens to think outside the box, and anyone who can do that can make something awesome. So
Yep.
for people watching, if you've lasted this far, don't be afraid to try any of this stuff for yourself. Look through the patch or any of the stuff on our GitHub page. Feel free, because it's all just commands. It's totally up for grabs just to grab little pieces. As long as you're not trying to pass off someone's stuff for your own. Using little bits is essentially how everybody's been surviving.
A good one to
Lots
do
of
that
trial
one
and
with
error.
is Aaron 000000 Infinity, because he's just done so many.
Yeah,
He's got a
does-
good
Yeah.
base of things to look through.
Yeah, if you're trying to think like, hey, I want to edit, say, the reload speed, go to his SNS Forever mod and just search whatever it is that you're trying to find. It's probably in
Yeah.
there because he did so much with that.
Yep.
Reload speed's a bad example because none of those guns reload.
But,
But,
you know, yeah, I mean,
yeah.
between
And
all the
similar
guns
with-
he made, he's pretty much touched everything at this point, I would assume.
Yeah, he
And similar with
does.
Sir Enmoy, who actually made a ton of class mods. If you
Oh,
ever
yeah.
want to look anything into
Yep.
class mods, check Sir Enmoy's folder in the GitHub.
Yeah,
Yep.
class mods, go check out his stuff. Skins, check out Dave's. And for random bits of guns, look at Aaron. Because he doesn't do, like, crazy, like, Dave weird stuff. He will go, though, and replace, every bandit gun in the game with something else. He
Or
does
his
really
accessory
big
changes and barrels changes, yeah.
Yeah, he does small tweaks that make real big impacts for how you play the game.
And I
So,
think I heard
yeah.
some people were saying they were working with Aaron to port some of his stuff over to the pre-sequel, like the Masher and the Dual Anarchy and stuff
Yeah,
like
some
that.
people have been
something
talking
that
about
can be
doing
done
that.
easily.
It would not be hard, really.
Yeah.
It's because they're so similar, it wouldn't take that much. And I know I'm working on a similar type of deal where there's a really big scope thing that I'm doing, but this is taking up most of my time. But
Alright.
if you liked hybrid guns from Borderlands 1, you're gonna like my next big project.
Nice.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and a project I had in mind for like 2 days now, but still haven't touched it, is actually making the sights on lasers act as an accessory, similar to how the rocket launcher's sights do.
That
would be cool.
Hmm.
Because as you know, lasers don't have accessories, with the only exceptions being Hyperion having the blade.
Yep.
Nothing else, actually.
One other thing I thought about with them is the Hyperion stock gives a bonus critical hit damage.
Oh, right.
But the other stocks don't really do much. Old Doll gives an extra round of burst. So I was wondering if you could add something to the Maliwan and Scav stock as well that would be similar to that. The Scav ones all have Tedior. Sorry, not Scav.
Meteor, yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Like Tedior's got the toss, so maybe the Tedior stock increases
Does
reload
mag-
speed
or
or
mag
grenade
size.
or mag, yeah.
Yeah, I'm
And,
liking the sound of that.
Maliwan could, increase elemental effect chance or continuous damage or something. I don't know. But
Yeah.
it was weird that two of them had an effect and the other ones didn't.
Yeah,
I
because it
hope
was
for
the
Borderlands
new
3
weapon.
they do that.
Yeah, and it was a new weapon type, and it felt like they didn't really do much with it. I mean, other than the 3 barrels, 4, there isn't much customization to them.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, that's probably, now that you say that sounds like fun. That might be like the next thing we go for. Probably
Or
once
somewhere
we,
on the list.
yeah,
Doesn't have
it's-
to be the next thing.
There's a
Yeah,
lot.
there's
There's
a
several
lot.
different lists at the
Yeah.
same time. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
I've
can
been
do
I've been
that
trying to
on
think of a lot of things for this to try to give you guys feedback, and that was definitely one of them. Because some people use the word half baked for lasers. I don't really like to say that, but the fact that they didn't really have accessories and
they're lackluster,
and they were really
No.
they were cool and unique and like I fucking love splitters. Beams are cool. Railguns I think were the big letdown of that.
Hmm.
I
But
actually like railguns, especially the Excalibur. I think it scales really well.
Scalabastard, yes, but just like the regular blue or purple railguns.
Yeah.
Unless you
Like
get
I really like the
yellow
mining
glitch, it's
laser.
a
I
lot
just
of
think the
fun.
mining laser is too much ammo and too slow.
Hmm.
If you actually check though, the Excalibur has the exact same stats as the purple one.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all in consideration now. After talking about it,
So is there anything else now?
I think we covered everything. Like several weeks worth of work has been covered.
Yeah.
All right.
Just a little something that UBHM can be customizable, as we said before, but it's not something we really wanna do for the community patch, right?
Hmm.
We
Yeah.
can make it similar to OP levels, actually, like enemies having a resistance. That,
Yeah.
but it's not gonna be in the patch. It's gonna be a separate thing. That.
Yeah. So I think I saw like 8 people asking about it. Yes, but not right now.
Yeah.
That's a fair point. All right. Well, I want to thank both of you guys, not only for taking the time to sit down and talk to me with all this today, but also just for like the amount of work you guys have done in making this happen. After Shadow did the Borderlands 2 one, I was thinking like, oh, that'd be so cool to get a pre-sequel one, but there's no way I was gonna attempt it. And you guys popped in pretty damn quickly and got a lot of stuff done. So
Yeah, as soon as it. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'll speak later.
Okay, as soon as he put that out and I hopped on the Discord, I tried to learn as many random things as I could, and immediately, like as soon as I felt like I had a basic understanding, I was like talking to Jim, saying, "Hey, we need to do this for the pre-sequel because that game needs some love, man."
Yep.
I actually believe that I was one of the first guys who actually said anything about the pre-sequel. I remember asking Shadow about. He was not negative about it, but he was not really interested. Let's say it
Yeah,
was
he
like
wasn't
a neutral
enthusiastic.
situation. Yeah. So in that regard, I said, "Hey, let's try and learn some stuff and let's see where that leads." I'm actually nowhere near Shadow's level or Dave's or anyone, but hey, I tried. I made some progress, and here we are.
No, you guys been doing great work on it, and again,
Thank you.
huge thanks to Shadow for just kicking all of this off, so this is all possible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any of this is possible without Shadow, and in Shadow's defense, a little bit, maybe he's not as big of a fan as the pre-sequel as we are. I think we're all big pre-sequel fans, but with the amount of work he's got on him, like, I mean, I could just imagine
Yeah.
if someone's like, "What about the pre-sequel?" I'll be like, "Fuck you, motherfucker! I'm busy."
I got
Yes.
one project to work on already.
yeah.
Leave me
What
alone.
he's undertaken is so huge. So,
And
Yeah.
if you
the
consider,
fact,
and
huh?
if you consider that he actually made a second patch like 2 weeks after the first one, I mean,
Yeah,
just think of any company. No company makes 2 patches in a week.
yeah. And the fact that his second one was so big, it wasn't just like,
Yeah.
oh, here's a few tweaks. Like, oh, here's like 800 skill fixes. We made that work in like 2 weeks. Like,
Yeah,
are you
man,
fucking kidding
Adedny-
me?
Yeah, that was
Adedny
crazy.
is a wizard with skills, man.
Yeah,
I'm trying to talk to him about it because skills for this is a mess. But man, he figured out Axton in like a day, and then
yeah.
just stormed everything.
The good news about the pre-sequel, if you guys do figure out skills, is the skills are much better in the pre-sequel. So I think
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
lot less
Yeah.
skills that would need to be touched. That's the silver lining if it does get figured out. But like we said earlier, that's down the line.
hmm Another thing, like the OP levels, it's yes, just not yet.
Yep.
Similar
Man,
to
I would
yeah.
like that. Yeah, so I think now would be a good time to wrap it up because I'm getting hungry and I need to go eat lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I haven't
again,
even
you know,
eaten breakfast.
thanks guys for doing this. Thanks for spending the time talking about this. Everyone listening, thank you for tuning in and listening to this. I think it's been interesting and cool to hear the thoughts behind what they're doing and really go through it in detail this time.
hmm
So you guys should definitely give Schmidt and Jim some love for doing this. Give them feedback on the forums and the Discord. Is there anywhere else they can find you guys? Or
I have a YouTube channel that I'm gonna start putting stuff up for this in Borderlands 2 when I when I get some extra time away from actually making this. I'm gonna be showing off some of the things that I found.
all right, so I'll put that link into the description below for you guys to find. Jim, anywhere to find you?
Other than the Discord and the forum, not really.
Okay.
I can't upload because my internet speed is really low. So there's
All
that.
right. So yeah, make sure
Yeah.
if you see these guys around, give them a big thanks because they are doing amazing work for all of us. And
You're
at
welcome.
that, yeah, I think that's it. So I'll see you all later. Bye.
All right,
Bye.
bye.